Welcome home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We are Baltimore positively getting the Maryland Crab Cake Tour back out on the road to my favorite downtown Baltimore. We're going back to Lexington Market. We'll be at Fadley's next Friday before the San Francisco Gigantes show up to take on the Orioles at Camden Yards. I will have a handful of the Harlem Globetrotter scratch-offs to give away, but I'm also going to be working in those new, fantastically beautiful Maryland motif scratch-offs. We'll have that. Also, our friends at GBMC and Farnan and Dermer, they are the comfort guys, keeping us comfortable here with all of our sports coverage. There's a little bit about sports, but it's going to be a little bit more about Baltimore politics and certainly about theater. Dan Rodricks has been my friend for 40 years. He put together his third show in about 3 years. And I remember when we were fly fishing and he was threatening me that he was going to do this once. This has now become a thing. If any of you follow me on social media, you know that his 1966 production was C'est Magnifique, and got standing ovations and had lots of local people, including a bunch of friends of mine in the cast. And we had them on last month before I departed for South America. I'm back from South America, Dan, and I just would say this, hanging around with you and your accent and my wife and her family, it's helped me a little bit understand Albernez's. I mean, sometimes I feel like I need a translator with the New England people. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, he's from Fall River originally. Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough down there. But nonetheless, you've made this beautiful life in Baltimore, and I thought that your show, look, I think it's going to be good. I like you. I want to be supportive and all that. I want to be entertained and all that. But you got a gift. That's all I'm going to say. You're on to something here with this thing, this second act of yours, my man. And I think you know that, and you're feeling it from other people because I'm not the only one giving you love. But I just wanted to check in on the backside and say bravo. But more than that, moved crowds. I was there on a Sunday afternoon. Just people have really responded to your work and the historical context of how 1966 and 2026 aren't all that different in a lot of ways.
Yeah. In fact, there's a moment in the play, if you recall, where Ted Burke, who portrayed Mayor McKeldin, Theodore McKeldin, who was mayor in 1966, a Republican, where he says or laments that unless we deal with race in America and end segregation and try to be fair to everybody through the law, that 50, 60 years from now, we may be fighting some of these same battles, you know. And I heard a gasp in the audience when each time that the mayor, portrayed by Ted Burke, said those things. So yeah, you know, the highest compliment I get from any of these plays that I've done is from people who've been here a long time, or people who've only lived in Baltimore 10 to 20 years, or even less. Some of the younger people say they learned a lot about Baltimore from the plays, things they didn't know. People who actually lived through 1966, for instance, and remembers McKeldin as mayor, remembers the civil rights movement, and of course remembers the 1966 Orioles. Of course, they remember that. But there was a lot portrayed in the play that they did not know about, even though it was widely reported in the news at the time. You know, most of my source material for the plays is from the newspapers, really, of the day. The Sun, the News American.
The newspaper of record.
Yeah. The first draft of history, so to speak, was very comprehensive. The Sun covered these events portrayed in the play No Mean City comprehensively. And I was very impressed with that.
I can't begin to say I learned so much, but more, look, I had to know there was racism here. I mean, I grew up in Archie Bunker's Dundalk 10 years later, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I feel all of that, but I didn't know about this plantation thing being a Klan thing and a white hatred group that would gather at Patterson Park to intimidate black people. I like there was a lot going on here that I wouldn't say it wouldn't be acceptable now because I mean, come on, man, we just did No Kings a couple days ago, and I'm going to get to that in a minute and current events with you. But for you to find that stuff, like you taught me stuff, Dan, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear it. That's what I like. That's why I did the play, because I was discovering things. I went into this, Nestor, thinking, okay, it's the 60th anniversary of the first World Series. Is there anything there I could turn into a play? Because people love the Orioles, and that period of Brooks Robinson and Frank Robinson I mentioned this in the program notes, that when I was a kid in Massachusetts, right? This is stuff that happened long before I got to Baltimore, a good 10, 12 years before I got to Baltimore. And I remember getting the Sports Illustrated uh, at home, in the mail. I waited for it every week, like a lot of other kids. And there was, on the cover was Frank Robinson and Brooks Robinson, white Robinson and black Robinson. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. They're both Robinsons. They're both on the Orioles, and they ended up winning the World Series together. Building, Frank's trade to Baltimore, as topped off what was a nucleus of a really good team, and they made it a great team. But more than that, I wondered, like, what else was going on in Baltimore besides the Orioles winning the World Series? That was only 2 years before the riots that followed the death of Dr. King, and I wondered what the temperature was like in Baltimore in terms of race. Was there pushback to the civil rights movement in Baltimore? Who led the civil rights movement? Those people are heroes, Was there pushback to it? It turns out there was, and we had a great deal of loss of population in the years that followed that. You can go to the calendar and look at pretty much Baltimore's population dropping after the civil rights movement, even going back to Brown versus the Board of Education on school segregation, separate but equal. You can see Baltimore losing population, people leaving because of, well, lots of reasons. People wanted bigger yards. They didn't want to live in row houses forever. There was that. But there was also racism. People did not want to coexist with black citizens in Baltimore who were fighting for better housing, who wanted to live in better neighborhoods. And
Frank Robinson being in the center of that. And my cousin as well, coming from Chicago.
Yeah, Luis Aparicio was a shortstop on that team. By the way, I don't know if you noticed, I'm not sure you could notice from the audience, but in the play, toward the end when we're describing the World Series, the actor who portrays Eddie Widener, who was the Orioles trainer at the time, is reading the sporting news. And on the cover is Luis Aparicio. So I saved that for you. We picked it up. It's from 1966, and I saved it for you. It's a prop I should save for the next time we do this play, but I'm going to give it to you because we can easily replace it. So.
Well, I'm going to easily lend it back to you. So I want it back on the stage if you're going to give it to me. You give it to me, I give it to you. Dan Rodricks is here. Yeah. So where are you with what you've created? Because I think you got to do it again. And it's not just about it's Dan's idea or Dan's decision. I mean, you had an unbelievable cast. I mean, I had Vanessa on, who just was phenomenal.
We did benefit from a very strong. We had a good audition and really good actors in this. All the way through. We really we got lots of comments about how strong the cast was for what is, I consider it a professional company, but it's a pretty new little company that I formed to produce theater. Right? It's professional in that I pay everybody. It's a step up from community theater because we had pretty strong auditions, and the standard is getting a little higher each time we do these plays. The first time I did it, it was 4 years ago, and I didn't.
It was you and friends, literally, right?
Me and friends. It was a one-man play with a cast of 7, mostly people I knew. And the next time when we did Baltimore Docket, that was the second play. There's a lot of people that you and I both know who I just recruited to be in the play. I didn't really audition anybody. I said, Milton Kent, I think you can do this role. But this time we had auditions, and we found some really talented people in the cast. And we got a lot of comments on that, and received a lot of comments from people asking to run the play again. And I think we will next year in 27. Later this year in December, we're reviving Baltimore, You Have No Idea, the original play, with some new scenes. As you know, and others who've seen the play, it's 9 scenes, 9 separate stories. There's going to be some of those stories will be replaced with new stories, all from my columns over the years. As you know, I wrote more than 6,600 columns for the Baltimore Sun, so I have a lot of material to go back to see if it lends itself to theatrical treatment, and that's what I've been doing. And,
well, this is what worries me, is that like you're either going to stop writing, which I don't think is possible, or you're going to keep writing and going to have more. Are you going to work on new stuff, or are you just going to do what you've done here, which is, I haven't even seen the docket. I was out of town when you put that on. I want you to put that one back so I can see it. I'm hoping you videoed this one this time around. I guess one of the reasons I want to bring you on was to say, what are you learning through all of this? Because this has been kind of an interesting journey, and you're inspiring me as to what might be possible later on when I'm done doing this radio thing.
There's many ways of storytelling, right? I mean, I'm a journalist. I write stories. Mostly have written stories over the years, published in the Sun. Now I'm writing for Fishbowl once a week, and I'm writing my Substack column. But there's other ways of telling a story. I mean, the story of Frank Robinson and Brooks Robinson, their friendship, and Frank's and his wife's effort to find a house to live in a white neighborhood, their effort to rent a place in a white neighborhood. That's just a good story. I mean, I could have written a column about it. Some years ago, Mike Klingeman of the Sun wrote a pretty comprehensive piece about Frank Robinson's search for a home in Baltimore when he was traded here. And that story stuck with me, and I remembered it, and I went back to it for reference for the play. So you can write a story, right? You can do a podcast and tell a story. You can produce a short video. You can produce a film. Why not tell the same story on stage? I mean, why not? I think that's what I'm doing. It's like some people told me it was like listening to one of your columns on stage or seeing the personification of a column that you might have written. People have said that to me, and I appreciate that a great deal. So I'm not done. I have a lot of material. I'm thinking of another play that would be monologues and interactions with actors portraying people that I wrote stories about over the years. So I have another, you might title it Baltimore, You Still Have No Idea, which would be a whole bunch of news stories packaged into 90 minutes, 8 or 9 scenes from columns that I've written. So I'm going to do that again. I'm pretty sure we're going to have another run of No Mean City, the one that we just finished. And as for Baltimore Docket, I was thinking of going back and revising it, improving it before we stage it again. Yeah.
I did not see my friend Chris Reel do the Brooks Robinson routine the day I was there. Your son, Nick, did it.
Yeah.
I sent him a text immediately after. I didn't even text you. And you don't know this. I'm like, dude, no offense to anybody else. The show was great. Everybody was great in the cast. I said, you stole the show. And the reason he stole the show was he pulled off Brooks Robinson in front of us.
Who are you talking about?
Your son, Nick, pulled it off.
I was very proud of Nick.
All shucks. I mean, he channeled Brooks. And I'm like, that ain't easy to do in Baltimore, is to get up on a stage and act like Brooks and be Brooks for a couple of minutes. Just the mannerisms. I mean, wow, did he nail that role?
He did. He and Vanessa pulled that off. Vanessa Eskridge, the director. I did not. Nick once in a while would ask me, what do you think of my Brooks? I said, Nick, I think it's really good. I think there's a couple of two ums and ahs in there. Maybe you could drop a few of those. That's all I said to him. And he looked at, the nice thing about this is you can go see a video of Frank Robinson being interviewed. You can see plenty of videos of Brooks, and all the actors did that. The actor, Tarek White, who played Floyd McKissick, the leader of the Congress of Racial Equality. There's video of him. I went to a Meet the Press or Face the Nation transcript from 1964 or 5 to hear what McKissick sounded like when he was being interviewed by the press. There's a video available of Mayor McKeldin too, that Ted consulted. So that does help a little bit, but thank you for what you said.
No, but Brooks is like, everybody here knows, feels, sounds, television, all of that. That's tough. That's all I was going to say. And that's a thumbs up.
I got lots of compliments about Nick. I was very proud of what he did there. And he would have been in the whole run of the show, except he's up to his neck in ice hockey with his sister. They coach a girls' ice hockey team, and they had a tournament on the final weekend of the play, and they volunteered to basically run the tournament. And so that he wasn't around. He was in an ice rink all weekend, and we couldn't get him for the whole run. So yeah. So that's the reason he wasn't there. Yeah. But you saw him. I'm glad you got to see him. And then the kicker. I didn't tell you this. The last performance of the play on Sunday, March 15th, Brooks D. Robinson and Michael Robinson, his brother, the two sons of Brooks Robinson, came to see the play. And Brooks D. Robinson flew up from Georgia to see the play. And that was a highlight. We mentioned this to the audience that they were there with us.
Saw it on social media. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was really nice. Yeah.
All right. Dan Rodricks is my guest. You know him. You love him. All right, Dan.
Well, some people do.
I love you. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice.
Yeah, Martin Luther King. Yeah.
Where the hell are we, man?
I'm encouraged by what I see in the polls, the disfavorable ratings of Donald Trump. I'm encouraged by no kings. I'm encouraged that independents who voted for Trump are now seeing what's going on here. That's not good. And politically speaking, I don't want to give Donald Trump any advice, but everything he's done has damaged him and the Republican Party. Almost everything he's done. The tariffs hurt the U.S. economy. He's poor at job creation. I don't think there's been a worse president when it comes to jobs creation. I just wrote a column about that, looking at the numbers. And then he starts a war with Iran, I guess with no calculus that this might affect the price of oil for all of us at the least. I don't know what if I was a Republican, I'd be very worried about what happens in November. But I think we need a change. I think that it's becoming obvious to people that this dalliance we've had with Donald Trump now for 10 years. It's been 10 years since he first ran, 11 years now since he came down the escalator. I think people are smartening up. It's pretty obvious. I don't know how you could not see it. You see it with gas.
I have some gun dog friends I grew up with that are just dumb enough to, go along with it. But I can't think, even on these golf courses and in these elite places where people are getting financial benefit from it, that they can't see that it's destroying our country.
Yeah, that's what I worry about the most, is what happens in the next election. We have an election coming up in November, and Trump must know, the Republicans know, and his inner circle knows that there's trouble up ahead. All of which I think that he has prompted, with the things that I just mentioned. And I don't know what he might try to do to stop that election. They keep claiming that there's going to be fraud, that we can't mail in ballots, and after he just mailed in a ballot in Florida, apparently.
Well, you haven't even mentioned the Epstein files, which is really that's at the end of the day, him being a pedophile and a criminal sits at the center of all of this, and all of the people around him in the cabinet, the Epstein class, as they will be known. I'm 57. I'm hoping to live another 20 to 50 years here. What we've done to our partners in Europe and NATO and our standing in the world, and Canada, let alone Mexico, Greenland, and Venezuela.
And they don't support us in this war. Our European allies, anyway, the people who have been with us Spain has just announced that it won't allow us to use their airspace for this war. People. People all over the world are wondering, did we all lose our minds here? No, we didn't. We didn't all lose our minds. He got 77 million votes in 2024, but Kamala Harris got 75 million. I mean, I know that's 2 million short, and he got all the electoral votes that really beat her when it comes to that. But if you just look at the popular vote, it wasn't that far apart, really. But there are people who just, I guess they're in a cult. And then you've got a Congress of Republicans who are just cowards. They don't stand up to him, even though they know. You hear these stories. There's all this private talk about what Trump has done to the Republican Party and how they fear the midterm elections. But they don't do anything. They don't stand up and say anything. They just go along with anything that he wants still. And the country is not behind that.
Nominating that creep from Oklahoma to, just sending thugs down to the airport that I'm going to have to deal with at 4:00 in the morning tomorrow in order to just catch a flight to go see Springsteen. Springsteen's going to be doing his Defiance in Minnesota tomorrow night. I'm going to be there. But I spent 2 weeks in South America, and Dan, I still have my passport here, right? Like, so you pull this out in an airport, people are giving you a side eye, man. It's not, and I want to be proud of America beyond the hockey team and the baseball team and waving the flag for jingoism and patriotism. But I just, when I speak to grownups like you, I'm like, what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah.
And people all over places like Uruguay, Peru, everywhere I went, people like, what's going on with you people up there? And I'm like, I left to get away from it for 2 weeks. And I did because of the language barrier. But the minute they found out this is my passport, they had questions.
Yeah. I've never, so, I write about this all the time. People say, well, you have Trump. I hear from Trump supporters, you have Trump derangement syndrome. I say, no. I have very specific reasons why I'm opposed to Trump, and I can articulate them. You cannot articulate why you support him. I don't hear, I ask people, when I challenge them sometimes. I say, okay, tell me, why do you still supporting him at this point?
Stands for America. Stands for freedom.
Something like that, if they can even say that. I don't get much. They'll bring up Biden. They'll say how bad Biden was. Biden created 15 million jobs. You go back to Obama, 11 million jobs coming out of the recession. Donald Trump is at a negative. He's in February, I think we created no jobs in 2025. He created no jobs in 2025. When you look at the net job creation, even from his own Department of Labor, the numbers show that Trump created no jobs in 2025. There was some job creation in January. There was a loss of jobs in February. So there's all this talk about the great economy and bringing down prices and all of that. People sitting at the kitchen table or just watching the news have got to know that there's something really wrong here. Even if they continue to say that they support Trump, people hate to admit they bought a lemon. Nobody likes to admit that they did something stupid. That what they did turned out bad. No one likes to admit that. So you won't hear it. But I think when it comes to voting, you will hear it. And the polls indicate that. That what you just mentioned about the airports, sending ICE agents into the airports to back up the TSA that isn't even getting paid, right? You talk about a tin ear. The polls show that Trump is underwater on his immigration policy. This used to be his strong suit. People wanted the border secured. They did not want mass thugs walking around the streets and grabbing people who are mulching flower beds, attending to people in nursing homes. So he sends them into the airport knowing that ICE is held in ill repute by most Americans now. The polls indicate that 60 to 70% think the immigration policy, the ICE enforcement, has been too aggressive. That's not what people wanted. They wanted a secure border. I don't even think people support all the deportations that have taken place. So what he's tried to do, there were deportations under Obama, no question about it. But that's what's done in the course of immigration enforcement and policy in the United States. They, meaning Trump and Stephen Miller, went for this high-profile, aggressive, this ICE police force grabbing people on the street, and because they want immigrants to be afraid to come here. And we are now at negative immigration. We don't have, any economist will tell you, in order to grow the economy from 2% up to say 3%, 3.5% GDP. You know, growth. I mean, you need immigrants. The 10,000 baby boomers retire every day. You know, we have a low child birth rate in the United States. You have to replace the workforce with somebody, and not all economists, but many respected economists say you have to have immigration in order to continue to have growth in the United States. And we're doing the opposite. We're sending people out of the country, and people don't want to come here. They're going to be afraid for a good while. I think until Trump is gone, they'll be afraid to immigrate here, even legally or not illegally or illegally.
Dan, I hope next time we get together, it's a crab cake and better times and different elections and all that. When's the next run for you?
In December, we'll have another run of Baltimore. You have no idea, at the Baltimore Museum of Art. I think it'll be 7 or 8 performances. That's all we do. People think we should have a longer run. I'm trying to get time at the museum to do a longer run, I hope, of these plays, because we sold out, and I heard from several people saying they were frustrated they couldn't get a ticket. They got to get a ticket early. That's the key to that.
Well, I was lucky enough to know somebody, but
you know somebody.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you, Nestor. I appreciate all the support you've given me on these play productions. Thank you very much.
I appreciate all the support you've given me over 40 years of our friendship. So thank you. Rest up. Get your writing together, put those new scenes in, and we'll come see you in December, and we'll get a crab cake sometime later in the summer, all right?
All right, that sounds good. Thank you, Nestor.
The great Dan Rodricks, longtime columnist of the Baltimore Sun, and now a playwright and an actor, and putting it all together over at the BMA. I'm Nestor. We're WNST, back for more right after this.